Hello there, and a warm welcome to my home and headquarters. Come in, take a seat. You're just the right person I was hoping to meet. It's an absolute pleasure. Yes, it means a lot to me that you came here and cooperated with the person I sent to bring you here. Well, at least, eventually cooperate. You will have to forgive me. I may have understated your tenacity and intellect when I was briefing him on the mission to retrieve you. Though I was correct about how defensive you would be, which I understand. That is for good reason. Let me introduce myself. My name is Arpej. I am the sole dragon of this vast region. I sense that you expected something else. This is my human form. I change at will to suit whatever I need to do. My human form is better suited for politics. I coordinate with human and non-human entities to accomplish the background work necessary for human progress. Let me ask you, which do you think you belong to? Human or non-human? I see. Very well. How was your trip here? I hope there weren't any problems. And I hope you're hungry. The cooks are preparing something special just for us. Yes, there are people employed here. This wasn't always the case, but I've done some modernization here since I took my position. The employees are just one of the modern amenities that make life easier. And it gives purpose and direction to people outcast from humankind. The service should be here very shortly. And before you tell me no, I fully insist. You will not regret it, I promise you. It's no trouble at all. You may be a product of a recent age, but I'm a bit of a traditionalist. When I met my dragon, he served me food to eat while we talked business. It is incumbent upon me to follow suit, even if you decline to talk to me. On that note, are you willing to talk? Particularly about the reason I brought you here. Very good. I hope you don't mind if we perform your examination in the front room. Normally, I would just do this in my laboratory, but the room is crowded with my projects. The lab was built in a more demanding time when my wares had but a brief day or so to stop and rest on a storage shelf. If we need the lab, we'll use it, but I don't think we'll have any major problems. We will figure out what magic has been used on you. I do thank you for your patience. I'm also glad to see that you are in good physical condition. Do you mind if I take a closer look? Thank you very much. You see, when I pictured someone who was stuck in that illegal species treatment facility, or as they call it, the ISTF, I imagined someone emaciated and frail. But you have a healthy amount of meat on your bones and color in your face. At the very least, your physical recovery is underway. I'm happy about that. About that time frame when you were imprisoned, and I do mean imprisoned and not seeking therapy like they say at the facility. I don't envy you for what you went through. I promise you, what I have to offer will be different. For starters, no one is going to ask you inappropriate and demeaning questions about the source of your lycanthropy. I'm not going to ask what you were wearing or how you were acting when you were attacked, because I'm not looking for faults to hold over your head. We're not going to hassle you for your medical tests, We're not going to take your blood or anything, especially without asking. Yes, what is it? Well, there's no easy answer for that. It's difficult to talk about why you're here without talking about the means you used to escape the facility. I'm just going to defer judgment for the time being. Morality can wait its turn. That phrase was a relic from those tumultuous times I was born into. Back in those bustling old days when unburdened thieves would happily reserve their ethical quandaries for the moment the wind stood still and not a minute sooner. The same wind blows, so we steal our questions from discussion. If we leave room for questioning, we open our minds to Batel's deception. You agree that that is his premier talent. So I'll ask you to keep your wits about you. As for the reason I picked you in particular, of those that are still alive, you have been exposed to Batel's magic for the longest. You'll give me the best picture of what he's capable of. That will tell me how to keep him from hurting yet more people. We have that goal in common, don't we? Very good. So what? Ah, here's dinner. I'll wait for the servers to leave before answering that. Now then, if I am not mistaken, you think I may be offering you a honeypot or a false promise. That's the entrapture technique where I would lure you into a vulnerable position. You might be on the lookout for that kind of trap, especially after you reported to the facility, like the law requires of everyone after werewolf attacks. Now, it's not my intention to be callous. But if my heart bled for every one of you werewolves, I wouldn't be long for this world. But you did what you were supposed to do, and the trap had its desired effect. And now you're wondering if I'm doing the same. I will point out a difference while you enjoy your meal. This opportunity is completely optional. If you want to go back to the cafe and wait tables like you were doing when we found you, you can do that. There's no collar around your neck, no chains, no short tether, no steel cuffs nor shackles. There are no guards to keep you here. All of the qualities that make a trap are missing. So, let's relax and have a bite to eat. What do we have? Let's see. A quick pickled beet salad with soft-boiled quail eggs and dill. And here we have hot bacon-wrapped scallops atop warm buttery Texas toast. Cajun-style red beans and rice with andouille sausage and shrimp. Very hearty, but not as special as this. Beef tartare. I requested this specifically as an analogy. This dish is presented as elegant, which it is. There is a delicately balanced taste profile in itself, with tasting notes along the board. All this, and yet there's still something inescapably feral about eating raw meat, raw egg. The appearance of purpose and care is the dividing line between savagery and civilization. Werewolves, like yourself, are no different. And that's where you come in. I secured a tentative government contract to build a werewolf facility close to this place. And you get to decide what makes a good facility as opposed to the place you were. No therapy leaders, just custodial caretakers. Think about it as a resort for lichens, a safe haven for people like you, people who understand. You can build this place not just one building, but as many as you want, so that werewolves can experience a peaceful, happy shift, unafraid of doing harm to each other or their loved ones. Think of anything that you went without that could have made you love who you are. And that is my end of the bargain. What I want from you is to let me perform my examination on you. I'm going to use magic to look at the wounds on your spirit. No, I'm not kidding you. It's not going to hurt. I want to preface this next part by saying I understand this could be a big ask. The process could awaken some trauma and be profoundly stressful and upsetting. I know that facility that you went to for your lycanthropy forced you to take medications that you disagreed with, and they were not exactly careful with your dosage. I know that. While I don't condone their practices, obviously I don't, it's unavoidable that I'm going to ask you to trust me with your care, just like they did. You already have one knife in your back, and I'm guessing you're not eager to have a second one. I can't convince you to trust me. It's just another way Badal intends to make our lives difficult. He makes you distrust any attempt to actually help you. He makes a life preserver look like a bear trap. But if you're willing, I have a potion here. If you drink it, for a time, you will not feel threatened or afraid. That will be impossible. This inhibits those emotions. This would help when I start looking at your spirit. No, I'm not a doctor, not in the modern sense. I'm a potions master, an apothecary. At the base level, I exploit magical reagents for the specific purpose of making changes to an individual. There are a lot of similarities between what I do and the force that causes you to transform into a werewolf on full moons. You are already experiencing magic. This time you have a choice in the matter. That's your offer? You want me to change into my dragon form, and then you'll agree. My form is massive. It can be frightening. We would have to go outside. We would go to an area I was telling you about. That's not to be confused with the place you'll be building. That's a little far from here. I just don't want the human government so close to my home. You know how they are. Before you know it, they'll demand I fight in their wars and settle their human disputes. These fools assume their enemies don't have a dragon of their own. I could go on, but that's the reason I had to land about 50 miles from here. The transformation. We'll get there. I just need to send Levi a text message. He should be aware that I'm taking my power back from him. I lent it to him to get you. And my phone says the message is sent. So I've now regained my power. So, I'm going to draw up a quick agreement with you. Once we both agree on the terms, we will follow through with it. We will be literally unable to do otherwise. That's a big deal when it comes to trust. Even if you don't trust me, you might still trust magic. So, in exchange for you allowing me to examine you just once, I promise to show you my dragon form. Also, in exchange for you drinking that potion I showed you, I will demonstrate breathing fire for you. How does that sound? Think about it very carefully, and I remind you that both of us will be held to our word. Very good. I promise the potion does exactly what I say it does. Do you agree? All right. Let's do this. Grab your vial. We're going outside. Follow me. I'm just going to put some distance between you and me. We'll be close again in a moment. At that moment, the man just out of view stood taller and taller. His shape changed, and he placed his hands on the ground. His hands, now meaty paws with growing claws, slid over the grass and approached you. You may have taken a step back, but Arpej reaches out and holds you in his paw. In your human form, you are as tall as his face. An amethyst purple scaled face with rosy peach-colored eyes. There were rows of sharp, pearly teeth in the dragon's mouth, especially the set of 4 long, dagger-like fangs. His tongue was broad like a birch leaf and made slow, deliberate movements. Atop the dragon's head, there were 2 ridge lines of horns, starting just above his eyebrow and ending at the crown of his skull. Most of them barely peeked out from his scales. Only 2 of them, one on each side, rose proudly from his head and followed a line formed by his cranium and hairline. Seeing this man, this dragon in this form, challenged every notion you had about your strength against his. You felt frail and helpless in his grasp. You tried to slip free, but he places a finger over your shoulder, holding you firmly in place. I'm going to have you experience power that doesn't lead to violence. I'm going to demonstrate that it is not a necessary path from one to the other. You might find it hard to believe, but I have been in this position before. Brutally scarred, no escape, distrusting. If my dragon hadn't been so insistent, I might have chewed through my rescue rope. Ubiquitous tyranny has a way of corroding through naive innocence. I want to help you remember what it's like to be what you were before the world happened to you. It's no exaggeration to say that the world inflicted worse wounds on you than any werewolf did. But I promise you fire. And you'll get it. The dragon lifted his head and craned his neck upward. He puckered his lips as if to whistle, and you hear a wet gurgle sound from inside his throat. The beast filled his lungs and inflated his throat a bit before a bright, hot light appeared in front of the dragon's lips. A long branch of flame flowed elegantly upward. It was a candle on the hill. The heat from the plume of the flame warmed your cheek and nose. The light shone in the landscape, steady and golden. Seeing it firsthand makes you consider your size in the universe. It makes you question if you know anything at all. You think back on the endless midnights you walked to enjoy the stillness, the personless scene. The lit oil refinery you swore was a city once. You never wondered what the flame was for. If it was there, it belonged, you always supposed. The dragon extinguished his flame and placed you back on your feet before changing into a man once again. So, was it everything you hoped it would be? How about we go to my lab? There should be enough room. Come here, I'll show you the way. All right now, go ahead and sit down in the chair, the one with the fur on it. Take this potion. You might be a little sleepy, and that's fine. Don't try to fight it. There you go. Let's put your feet up and just bend them at the knee, like this. There you are. Now, place your arms where they're going to be comfortable. Now I will be closing my eyes to use my second sight, but I'll keep physical contact with you. If you need a break or anything, just tap my hand. Are you ready? Great. Let's do this. You have a human spirit, and there's the infection. Good news is it's not very big. In my experience, the size of the infection is a determining factor in the werewolf's shifted size. I take it your werewolf form is maybe 7.5 feet tall, maybe 280 pounds range. Maybe you already know this, but that's not a large werewolf. You could wear loose clothing on full moons without having to undress. As for your spirit, it has been through the ringer. You have a fairly tight, volatile exterior. Under that, you have a crumpled region, a metamorphic pattern. It's similar to a callus. Your spirit's stable exterior sustains an attack, and then it heals and reforms in a way that makes it resistant to the same kind of attack. I suspect that the primary reason for Beetle to have this happen is because it provides camouflage. See, under your spirit's stable exterior, There's a marker that's implanted in you when you first touch that journal. That marker exists to follow instructions from the original curse. One of those instructions is to establish a means of viewing you through the journal. Also, he can see more of you than what you've written. He can also view your spirit like I'm doing. The camouflage makes it easy to miss if you don't know what you're looking for. I'm going to take it out. I'm just going to reach in and remove the marker from you. There you go. Ooh, you're a real nasty thing, aren't you? Oh, you noticed I took it. How do you feel? You might feel very strange for a moment, but you'll get back into the swing of things. Do you need a break? Interesting thing about devices like these are made out of memory. Some unfortunate soul, I presume, trusted this man with their experiences. It's a hot commodity if you're the kind of bastard that would do this. Feel free to relax while I look at this memory. It might have a lot of useful information. Arpej still had his eyes closed when he carefully deconstructed the device to its raw memory, taking note of the unravelings. What the dragon saw was familiar in architecture. It was the Guildmaster's office in the old Thieves' Guild Arpej was a part of. The dragon realized he was seeing a memory from Betel himself. Using some uneventful moment to construct that marker, he figured. Betel was accounting for the guild's resources and expenses. He heard a noise from the side door opening where the master's living quarter was. A master could keep a whole family in there without being crowded. A tall woman in a dress entered along with a muscled bodyguard and a young girl, clothed in white. Betel never married, so this woman was the closest he had to a wife. He charged her with the responsibility of helping him raise his daughter. Actually, it was Penelope, daughter of Arpej, separated shortly after her birth. The dragon watched the man who vexed him give comfort to his daughter who had a bad dream. It was a side of the man Arpej never pictured, couldn't imagine. The guildmaster holding the young girl on his lap, saying kind, reassuring words in her ears, tenderly brushing his hand over her cheek until she was brave enough to sleep again. Betel carried Penelope to her bed, tucked her under her covers, and kissed her head goodnight. The memory started to fade. The dragon hearing his own flesh and blood say, "I love you, Daddy," to the man who stole her away. The dragon opened his eyes. Chest tense with anger, he swallowed for the time being. I think that's enough for now. We have a big task in front of us. And maybe once we're done, we can finally separate the infection from everyone. Throw it into cleansing fire, and we can finally wake up from this lycanthrope nightmare. Return to our lives as scheduled. Yes, you may ask me something. Oh, those decorations. Let's see. Do you see that sword, des Zweihande? That's my family sword. It was lifetimes ago. Fun fact, my family would retire swords once better technology became available, so this was the latest in the line of swords. I'm sure this steel sword was the last one they made with my family crest on it. Irresponsibly expensive for the time, but we weren't known for our patience. Looking at history, it appears that this is just one of many poor financial decisions that led my family's irrelevance. That's all well and good. I suppose given enough time, my family might have moved to a highly decorated sniper rifle, flashy in all the ways suited for a family of our nobility. Now you see the walking staff. That belonged to the dragon before me. His legs weren't strong. Well, as a dragon, they were immensely strong. However, he piecemealed the process of passing the torch to me. He wanted to make sure I was ready because his dragon left him quite suddenly. Late in my relationship with him, he walked with a cane. I keep those here as a reminder for each dragon's relationship with their predecessors and successors. Those with the sword escape death. Those with the cane walk toward it. Both of these models are essential to our nature and unavoidable. I want to make one thing clear to you. I have not yet decided to pass the torch. Don't think of yourself as a candidate for the next in line. I would console you for your disappointment, but you're already looking at a grand opportunity. Now, I booked you a motel room for you to stay in and to think more about the offer. Walk out the front and you'll see a car with the driver. They will take you to the motel where you can rest. I'll be working on the plan. Again, thank you. You will be rewarded. I promise. You left the cave and went to the back seat of the car and rode away. There was the faint smell of tobacco smoke in the car, just slightly covered by artificial cherry scent. It was late at night now, and you zipped up your jacket from the cool air. The driver was stoic and quiet. As you put distance between you and the mountain ridge, you couldn't make out the entrance at all. The place was very hidden away. "Excuse me, driver," you ask. "By any chance, do you have another one of those potions I had earlier?" The driver turned his head to look into the rearview mirror at you. "I think the potion is wearing off, and I really like something to soothe my nerves. It's fine if you don't." The driver eventually reached into his jacket pocket and handed you a loose cigarette. You haven't had a smoke in years. If there's one thing the facility helped you with, it was to kick the habit. Your heart was racing. The man saw into your soul, and it was battered. You are now aware that the bastard put a tracking device inside of you, so intimately without you noticing. This troubled you. The driver wiggled the cigarette impatiently, so you reached out and took it. You thank him and try to say you don't usually smoke and that this is an exception. "I'm not going to tell you, Mom," he jokes before handing you a lighter. You look out the window and place the filter firmly between your lips. You flick the lighter, which seems low on butane. You try again and see a flame, but it wasn't from the lighter. It was from the ridgeline where you just were. "Is he breathing fire again?" you ask out loud. The driver looked over and furrowed his brow. "If the big guy's doing it, there's a good reason." You ask, "Has he ever done that before?" The driver brought his eyes back to the road. "Not twice in one day. And not like this." The flame was more savage than you saw earlier. Probably some project he's been working on. I don't even ask anymore. You finally light your cigarette, take a drag, and exhale slowly. The wavy wisps of white smoke remind you of the dragon's breath you saw earlier. You take a moment to think and link your thoughts and theories before you take another drag, this time filling your mouth with the smoke. You spit the smoke out of your mouth, out the window. And for that brief moment, there was a cloud that resembles the flame in the distance. That's it, you thought. He's angry. Something in that memory made him take out his frustrations. You let the rest of the cigarette burn down to the filter, with your hand resting on the window in the cool midnight breeze. As you travel further away, the light of the fire can't be seen. You remember it though. It was a candle on the hill. It was the harbinger of a blaze. Hello, my name's Grunge Panzer, and I'm the creator of this content. Thank you for getting to the end of it. I'd like to draw your attention to these two individuals on the screen. These people have helped chip away at the expenses of creating this content for you. Honestly, I can't thank them enough for their generosity. If you feel like being generous as well, and you want your name here too, go ahead and go to my Patreon page. The link is in the description. Thank you.